That day, I thought I was going to a family birthday party. One of those meals that are a bit too long, a bit too noisy, where you smile out of politeness, grit your teeth, and everyone plays their part. I had mentally prepared myself to endure the usual comments, the little digs disguised as jokes, the unbearable comparisons, the silent judgments. But never, absolutely never, would I have imagined that this evening would turn into a public humiliation, then into a total explosion. And even less that everything would fall apart because of a single sentence dropped in the middle of the glasses, the plates, and the fake smiles. Your son is not of our race. It was my mother-in-law's birthday, Zinaida Petrovna. 60 years old, a round, solemn number, the perfect occasion to gather the whole family in her small apartment, where we had managed to fit everyone in, at the cost of almost absurd efforts. A huge table in the middle of the living room. The room was literally overflowing with food. There were mountains of salads, dishes with sauce, cold meats, pies, marinated fish, sauces, bread, champagne, and cognac. The smell was so thick it seemed to stick to the walls. Everything had been prepared over several days, and my mother-in-law never missed an opportunity to remind us, as if every dish placed on the table was meant to be received as proof of eternal love. I had sat at the end of the table near the balcony door, as always a bit withdrawn, hoping to spend the evening quietly. My husband Pavel was next to me. A good man, solid, loyal, the kind you can count on in life. The problem is, he always believed that conflicts between women would eventually dissolve on their own if you just ignored them. For a long time, he didn't understand that there are silent wars that settle in over years, repeated humiliations, little verbal jabs that, over time, become a poison. Sitting across from us was his sister Elena, my sister-in-law. The one who, in every family, embodies that toxic mix of arrogance, envy, vulgarity, and the absolute certainty of being above everyone else. That evening she was wearing a gold dress covered in sequins that seemed to struggle to stay on her. She sparkled everywhere, on her ears, her neck, her wrist, even in her gaze. Next to her, her husband Arthur was slowly chewing his meat, looking both gloomy and satisfied. He was a wealthy man, owner of several garages and car washes, proud of himself, proud of his money, proud of his image, and above all proud of his two little twin girls, Alicia and Milana, who ran around the table shouting, laughing, and nearly knocking everything over in their path. The two little girls were 5 years old. They were red-haired, intensely red-haired. A blazing head of hair, freckles on their noses, very fair skin, almost translucent, and bright eyes. Arthur called them his little foxes, with that almost theatrical pride that some men have when they believe they are gazing upon their own masterpiece. Yet there was something strange about this picture. He was dark-haired, very dark-haired, with olive skin, very dark, of Caucasian origin on his father's side. In his family everyone had black hair, dark, robust, and on Elena's side there was no trace of that fiery red hair she now claimed ran in her blood. But no one dared to bring up the question. No one, until tonight. The tension had started well before dinner. As soon as we arrived in the hallway, Elena set her eyes on my son, Danka, my little boy, my treasure. A calm, delicate, intelligent child, a bit reserved, who didn't like being watched for too long. It had been so hard to convince him to wear a white shirt that evening, precisely to avoid criticism. But Elena had come up to him with that poisonous smile I knew all too well. She had pinched his cheek a little too hard, and said in a syrupy voice, "Oh, he's so small, don't you feed him or what?" My daughters at the same age were already much taller. Pavel had muttered something to defend him, saying that he himself had been a small child. But Elena had laughed. She always laughed as if she were performing in front of an audience. Then she added that my son looked fragile, that he was too skinny, that his ears stuck out, that his nose was strange, that he probably needed vitamins, or maybe we should just stop skimping on food. I held myself back, as I had so many other times. I replied that we were mainly feeding his brain, that he was intelligent, curious, and lively. She rolled her eyes, as she always did, whenever she heard something outside her world of appearances, money, and facades. "The most important thing is to have a healthy child," she said. "Look at my daughters, now that's good stock." And from the kitchen, my mother-in-law chimed in without the slightest embarrassment. When you hear that kind of remark once, you try to forget it. When you hear it 10 times, it stays rooted somewhere inside you. But when it's aimed at your child, it never really goes away. Later in the kitchen, while the men smoked and the guests were settling in, I found myself alone with Elena and my mother-in-law. Big mistake. Elena was ostentatiously spreading red caviar into a pretty glass bowl, as if she were handing out trophies for her own superiority. She started commenting on our clothes, our means, the way we were raising Danka, and then our financial situation. According to her, if my son wore jeans instead of a suit, it was because we were poor. According to her, if I worked as a teacher and did tutoring, it was obviously because I depended on my husband. When she found out that I actually earned more than Pavel and that we had just finished paying off our loan, she laughed so loudly that my mother-in-law left her pots to come and enjoy the scene. And of course, she had to add that our birthday present had no soul. Unlike the gold bracelet Elena had given her mother, I left that kitchen burning inside, but I had promised Pavel not to ruin the birthday. So, I stayed silent until the moment she went after my son.